The sun was setting over the rally site as thousands of Trump supporters filled the massive outdoor venue. Flags waved, chants echoed, and anticipation buzzed in the air. Donald Trump, dressed in his signature navy suit and red tie, took the stage, flashing his famous confident smile. Among the crowd near the metal barricades stood an older man in tattered clothing. His face was weathered, his beard unkempt, and his eyes carried years of hardship. His name was James, a former Marine who had fallen on hard times. He held a small cardboard sign that read, "Veteran in need, anything helps." As Trump scanned the audience, his gaze landed on James. The contrast between the well-dressed crowd and this lone veteran struck him. Without hesitation, Trump gestured toward him and signaled security. The crowd fell silent as a staff member escorted James toward the stage. The moment was surreal. James, who had been ignored for years, now stood before one of the most powerful men in the country. "What's your name, soldier?" Trump asked, his voice firm but kind. "James Carter, sir," the veteran replied, standing tall despite his ragged clothes. Trump put a hand on his shoulder. "Ladies and gentlemen, this man served our country, and now he's struggling. That's not right." The audience erupted in applause. But no one expected what Trump was about to do next. The rally crowd watched in stunned silence as Trump reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick stack of cash. "This is for you, James. Get yourself a fresh start." James hesitated before accepting it, his hands trembling. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll use it well, that's all," Trump responded with a nod. But he wasn't done yet. Turning to his staff, Trump made an unexpected announcement. "Find this man a job, a home, and a way to get back on his feet. No veteran should be left behind." The crowd erupted into deafening cheers, some wiping away tears. Cameras flashed as reporters scrambled to capture the moment. James, overwhelmed, saluted Trump with pride. As security helped James off stage, he turned back and said, "Thank you, sir. You have no idea what this means to me." Trump pointed at him. "America takes care of its own. That's a promise." James woke up to the sound of footsteps echoing through the hallways of the veterans' housing facility. For the first time in years, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. After years of sleeping on park benches, relying on soup kitchens, and feeling invisible to the world, he finally had a chance to rebuild his life. He took a deep breath and stepped into the small but clean bathroom, staring at his reflection in the mirror. His beard had been trimmed, and his skin, though still weathered, no longer looked as lifeless as before. He ran a hand over his face, the sensation foreign yet comforting. Trump's promise hadn't been empty words. Within days of their encounter at the rally, James had been given shelter, food, and a medical checkup. But what truly stunned him was the job offer. The Trump organization had reached out, offering him a position in hotel security. It was more than just a paycheck. It was dignity. Dressed in a crisp uniform, James walked into the grand lobby of one of Trump's luxury hotels, feeling out of place. He straightened his tie nervously, his hands still rough from years of hardship. The lobby was bustling with guests, wealthy business people, and tourists. It was a world so different from the streets he had known. His new supervisor, a former Navy officer, greeted him warmly. "Welcome aboard, James. We take care of our own here." That night, in his small but comfortable apartment provided by the company, James found a letter on his bedside table. It bore the Trump Organization seal. Inside was a handwritten note. "James, proud of you. Keep going. You're stronger than you know. Donald J. Trump." Tears welled in James's eyes. He had been given a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. Months passed, and James proved himself in his new role. He was punctual, disciplined, and carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had faced the worst and survived. The staff respected him, and guests appreciated his politeness. But what meant the most to him was that, for the first time in years, he felt seen. Not as a burden, but as a person with worth. Then one afternoon, he received an unexpected call. "James, the boss is coming in today," his supervisor said. "He wants to see you." James felt his heart race. He had seen Trump on television and in the headlines, but he hadn't expected to cross paths with him again. He adjusted his uniform, took a deep breath, and stood by the entrance of the hotel. A convoy of black SUVs pulled up, and the doors swung open. Secret Service agents stepped out first, scanning the area. Then, amidst the flashing cameras, Donald Trump emerged, looking as confident as ever. James straightened up, his military training kicking in. As Trump walked in, their eyes met. "James, my favorite Marine," Trump said, grinning. "Good to see you, sir," James responded, shaking his hand firmly. Trump stepped back, looking him up and down. "You clean up nice. Told you we'd take care of you. Now tell me, what's next for you?" James hesitated, then found himself saying something he hadn't even fully processed yet. "I want to help other veterans like me. Give back, like you did for me." Trump nodded. "Then let's make it happen." And just like that, another door opened. With Trump's backing, James co-founded an organization dedicated to helping homeless veterans reintegrate into society. He worked tirelessly, ensuring that those who had served their country wouldn't be forgotten. The nonprofit provided shelter, job training, and mental health services for struggling veterans. At the launch event, Trump stood beside James, speaking to a crowd of supporters and media personnel. "This man is proof that no one is ever truly lost," he declared. "We fight for our heroes just like they fought for us." James stepped up to the microphone, looking out at the audience. Many of them were veterans, their faces filled with quiet understanding. "If not for that one moment," he began, his voice steady, "I don't know where I'd be. One act of kindness changed everything. Now it's my turn to do the same." The room erupted in applause. Reporters captured every moment, but James wasn't thinking about the cameras. He was thinking about the men and women who had been where he once was, hoping that his story would inspire them to keep going. One particular veteran approached him afterward, his hands trembling as he held out a letter. "Because of you, I have hope again," he said, his voice thick with emotion. James took the letter, feeling its weight in his hands. He had once been on the receiving end of such generosity, and now he was the one extending it. As the event wrapped up, Trump clapped him on the back. "James, you're doing great work. I knew you had it in you." James smiled. "I think we both did, sir." Trump grinned. "And just wait, you're only getting started." James had come full circle. He had been given a second chance, and now he was paying it forward. And that, he realized, was the greatest gift of all. Years had passed since that unforgettable night at the rally. James sat in his small but cozy office, flipping through files of veterans his organization had helped. The walls were lined with plaques, newspaper articles, and photos, proof of the lives he had changed. But one photo stood out among the rest, a framed picture of him and Donald Trump, shaking hands on the day they launched the nonprofit. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. A young Marine stepped in, looking nervous. "Mr. Carter, I just wanted to say thank you." James gestured for him to sit. "What's your story, son?" The Marine took a deep breath. "I was homeless. I had nothing. But because of your foundation, I got a job, a place to stay, and a second chance." He pulled a folded letter from his pocket. "I wrote this for you." James unfolded the letter and read the words that hit him like a wave. "Because of you, I have hope again." His throat tightened. This was why he did it. That night, as James locked up the office, his phone buzzed. He answered, and a familiar voice filled his ear. "James, it's Trump." James grinned. "Mr. President, to what do I owe the honor?" Trump chuckled. "I just wanted to check in. I saw your work on the news. You're doing something incredible. I'm proud of you, Marine." James leaned back, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. "Thank you, sir. But I think we both know. I couldn't have done it without you." Trump's voice softened. "America takes care of its own, James. You're proof of that." As they hung up, James stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. He had once been lost, forgotten. But now he had a purpose. And as long as there were veterans in need, he would keep fighting for them. Because one act of kindness had changed everything.